She's showing everyone the back of her dress. She's like, hi, welcome to the BRYNNSGIVIng. Brynn is crazy. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxy with Roxy Says, and we're gonna talk about it. So today we are reviewing The Real Housewives of New York, season 14, episode 4. Now, I can say I really enjoyed this episode. We got to learn a lot more about Brynn, about her upbringing. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I really appreciate how Sai recognized that Brynn had a void in her life when coming to family. And I really love how Sai took that initiative to create an environment for Brynn where she felt loved and felt appreciated and felt like she had a family. Because as we'll see in the later part of the episode, that's something that Brynn really doesn't have and that she's never really had in her entire life. So seeing the ladies get together to give Brynn that sense of family, that really warmed my heart this episode. Like, I loved it. It was beautiful to see. And on top of that, Brynn had me cracking up this entire episode. So let's get into it. But before we do, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. You already know the vibe, okay? So look, in my last review, I said that Jessel and Aaron were my least favorite. That's how we ended off my last review, okay? After this episode, I think Jessel did better this episode. Aaron is still on my list, okay? And I'm gonna get into that and tell you why. So as this episode opens up, we're still at Aaron's house in Sand Arbor, okay? And we see that Brynn slept with Aaron the night before because she didn't have a bed. Brynn tells Aaron, like, girl, I'm gonna need a plan B, okay? I can't. And we see that Sai left the ladies at about 1 a.m. in the morning. And Brynn is like, I don't know how you just gonna leave me like that. And Sai is like, you'll be fine. I left some money on the dresser. I love the dynamic of these girls' relationship because this is how me and my girls talk. We'd be like, bitch, like, the money's on the dresser, okay? Don't call me, don't text me. We have fun. We're done. I love it. So Jenna comes downstairs for breakfast. Jenna came downstairs. She had on a baseball cap and some sweats and diamonds, just dripped in diamonds. Diamonds for breakfast, bitch, okay? Love it. Just fabulous. Erin is finally making her shashushka. Did I get it right? Shashushka? Don't kill me in the comments, child. But remember last episode, Erin was trying to say that she couldn't make it because Jenna didn't want it so early in the morning. But in this episode, this morning, we see Erin is making her shashushka, and when Jenna comes downstairs, she offers to help her, and Erin is like, yeah, you could cut the tomatoes, and Jenna gets to cutting the tomatoes. So I'm like, okay, this is cute, okay? They're coming together, they're bonding over food, right? They're making food together. That's a nice bonding moment. We learned that Uba has her own hot sauce. Her brand is called Uba Hot, and her sauce was actually featured in Oprah's Favorite Things. That is huge, right? And we'll learn a bit more about Uba's business later in the episode. So while the ladies are eating the shashushka, Jessel is like, oh, this is delicious. This is like the most delicious shashushka. I'm gonna be struggling with this word all through this review, okay? Jessel says, this is the best shashushka that I've ever had. And I'm like, okay, Jessel, starting off the morning, not complaining. We love to see it. Good job, sis. But Sai says that she is not impressed in her confessional. She's like, what is this? Like runny eggs and tomato sauce? Like, I'm not impressed. As we can see from all the past episodes, and we'll also see more of in this episode, Sai is really serious when it comes to her food, okay? If you hosting an event, your spread better be right, or she gonna have a problem, okay? So as they're eating breakfast, the ladies are discussing like what they usually do for Thanksgiving, for the holidays. And they're discussing how family is and things that they don't like about it, and family coming by unannounced. And Brynn says, oh my God, I would love to have family drop by unannounced. And I would love to have an overbearing mother-in-law, right? And the ladies are like,
girl, what?
So here is where we get into Brynn's upbringing and her family, right? Here's the first taste that we get from Brynn's childhood. And she says that she grew up in Indiana and her parents were never really in the picture, but her grandmother, who was her mother's mother, adopted her when she was a little girl. So that's just a little taste that they gave us, but she really goes into it near the end of the episode. So the ladies ask her, what does she usually do for Thanksgiving? And she says, you know, a lot of times she takes a solo trip to London, and this time she'll be going with a man named Gideon, who is her ex-fiance. This is her third ex-fiance, okay? So Brynn gonna get proposed to. She might not marry you, but she gonna get proposed to, okay? And she also lets us know that since she's not close with anyone in her family, when she feels lonely, she usually calls up an ex like, hey, what's up? Because it's someone who she knows, it's someone who's familiar, and it gives her that sense of closeness and family. So the ladies are finishing up their breakfast and Sai's like, Uba, why are you eating with a knife, right? And Uba's like, yeah, I'm eating with a knife so people know where I'm at. And I'm like, period. Period. Uba said, look, I'm eating with a knife so you know what type of time I'm on. Don't play with me, okay? I'm eating with a knife. Part of me feels like eating with a knife is for some reason like a model thing. I could be completely wrong, but I feel like the fact that Uba's a model and she eats with a knife, for some reason I feel like that is like a way she's learned to eat slower, right? So maybe you end up eating less. That's the first thing I thought about. I remember when I used to eat with chopsticks because it helps me to eat slower, and then in turn I would end up eating less, but Uba's eating with a knife. I feel like that's a thing. Let me know down below. Is that a thing, eating with a knife, like in the model industry so that you eat less? You know what I'm saying? Let me know. So now the ladies are packing to go home and Erin is like, I know Jessel can't wait to get the F up out of here. And then immediately they cut to Jessel's confessional and she's like, I can't wait to get the F up out of here. I screamed because I'm like, yeah, Jessel is ready to go home, okay? From the lack of heat to the non-working Wi-Fi to the lingerie that Jenna gave her that she didn't like to all the girls coming at her, Jessel is ready to go home. And we see that because when Jessel was leaving, did she even turn around and say bye? She was like, okay, bye, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, let's go. Happy Hanukkah, everything, bye. I'll see you later. Bye. Jessel was out of there, okay? And when Sai is leaving, Sai does not fail to remind Erin that she forgot to feed her, okay? Sai's like, yeah, I had a great time, even though you did not feed us, sis. And when Sai gets to her car, she asks the driver, like, hey, do you know where provisions is? Because I need to eat. And Erin overhears it, child. You already know Erin is very self-conscious when it comes to her home or when it comes to hosting an event or whatever. So now we learn a little bit more about what Erin does, right? So Erin lets us know that her family has always been in real estate, both her mother and her father. So that was just a natural career path for her to take. And like I said in my last episode, when Sai and Brynn were having that conversation about the dollar store and Erin quickly changed the conversation, it's because she can't relate. Erin grew up privileged, right? Her parents had money. She said that a typical weekend for her would be her tagging along at work with her mom and her mom showing apartments and homes to people like Brad Pitt. And then after that, they'd go to the ballet. That was her lifestyle, and that's always been her lifestyle. So she got her real estate license at 19. And then by the age of 23, she had already sold 4 buildings. So that's huge. That's amazing. So she says that through these experiences, what she really learned was that she was most passionate about the actual, oh my God, I can't, how do y'all do like 15 videos a day? I can barely talk right now. Oh my God, what the fuck? I can barely talk. So she says that through these experiences, what she mainly learned was that her true passion was actually the construction and the design of these spaces, right? So she started a company called Homegirl. Okay, that is a cute ass name. Isn't that a cute ass name? Homegirl, like, I love it. It's cute. And the purpose of the company is to design spaces and to also increase the property value, right? So when you sell your space, you sell it and you make a nice big profit and you don't sell for a loss. And in all honesty, I really enjoyed watching Erin in her boss girl mode. It was nice seeing her in that role because to me, this is like the first time that I've seen Erin appear to be confident. I feel like when she's around the girls, she's not as confident. She second guesses herself. She doubts herself, but when she's in her boss girl mode, she's like, yeah, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So it was nice to see her doing what she loves and being confident in that. But she also lets us know in her confessional that because of her job, it makes her intolerant of bullshit. So in the next scene, I really enjoyed this scene. We see Brynn at the hair salon, okay? She lets her hairstylist know that she hasn't had a relaxer in about 8 years, right? She said that if she could go back and had never relaxed her hair, that's what she would have preferred, but she kind of had to, right? Because her grandmother was white and her grandmother had adopted her and her siblings. So here her grandmother is a white woman raising these 3 biracial kids, and she didn't know what the hell to do with Bryn's hair. And because of that, when Brynn would go to school, she would get teased in school because of how her hair looked. Now, mind you, she grew up in Indiana and she went to an all-white school. Bryn's mom was white and her dad was black. Her dad was never in the picture, so she never got a relationship with him or his family. So she was never around black people. And that was until someone let her grandmother know about a black hair salon where she could take Brynn to, right? So Brynn says that every weekend she would go to this hair salon, and that was the only time that she was around black people, more specifically black women. And she says that she thanks God for those salon visits because that was life-changing for her, right? She also says that she was embarrassed to admit she was black. Now, when she said this in her confessional, she was like, I'm gonna show you how she did it. And I was kind of like, girl, are you still embarrassed? She was like, it was embarrassing for me to admit that I was black. I was like, girl, you said black kind of fast, right? Is that me looking into it? Let me know. I would not be surprised because that is the case for a lot of people, especially if you were abandoned by your family, to still have some unresolved feelings regarding your race, right? Because you did not grow up with parents who instilled pride in you about who you are, about what you are. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if Brynn is still dealing with understanding or fully embracing or being fully comfortable with her black side, especially because when we get to know more information about her childhood, even though she doesn't go into deep detail, she does speak on the things that she experienced as a child from both of her parents, but primarily from her father. All right, y'all. So now we are at Uba's place. Uba lives in Columbus Circle, and we see her best friend / business partner, Kathleen, come over. And we can see that Uba has a lot of love and a lot of respect for this woman. And she asks her, like, why is it so hard for me to receive? So at this point, Uba is looking for investors for her company. And it's really strange to her to have to look on the outside for investors because what she's used to culturally, things are done more on a community level where she can ask her uncle for money, or she can ask her cousin or her mother or her father, right? But that is not her situation right now. So it's really strange for her to accept money or even ask for money from outsiders. And Uba lets Kathleen know that she feels very alone, right? She says, usually in times like this is where I would call my mother and I would ask her for her opinion on what she thinks. Uba gets really emotional and she lets us know that she lost her mother in December 2012. And watching this scene, I got really emotional too because I am so close to my mother. We speak multiple times every single day. That's my girl. That's my baby. She's my mother, but she's my baby. And I can't imagine how dealing with that would be. So I 1,000,000% felt Uba. And Kathleen asked Uba, like, what would your mom say in this situation? And Uba said, my mama would say, get that money, honey, okay? So hopefully we see Uba get more comfortable with accepting investors for her business to grow her business. Get that money, Uba, okay? Because these other people are out here, they're getting investors. And they're unapologetic about it. You got some money for me you want to put in my business? Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it. Okay. In the next scene, we see Sai. She's at home back in Brooklyn. Hey. And I'm like, Sai, is that a leather jacket or a leather shirt she got on, child? I'm not a fashionista, so I don't know. We know Sai's the fashion girl, honey. Okay. But I would be sweating bullets cooking in that leather jacket, leather shirt, whatever the hell it was. So Sai is telling her hubby about Brynn. Okay. In this scene, who did not fall in love with Sai's husband? Respectfully, okay? Sai is telling her husband about Brynn not having much family and how it reminded Sai of the life that she lived, before she met her husband, David. So she tells her husband, David, that she wants to have a Friendsgiving so they can all get together and be there for Brynn. And she wants to call it BRYNNSGIVING. How cute is that? And David is totally on board with it. And he's like, well, does Brynn know? And she's like, no, she doesn't know yet. Let me give her a call. So they call up Brynn, and Brynn is so happy and receptive. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's so excited and she can't wait for it. So now Sai and her husband are discussing Jessel, right? And Sai asks her husband, David, do you think that we were too hard on Jessel? And David says this: as a man, I can't even begin to imagine what it is like birthing a child, much less for two, okay? He's like, I can't even begin to imagine. So maybe she's exhausted. Maybe she's just tired. I do think that maybe y'all were a little bit too hard on her. And I'm like, oh my God, Sai, I love this for you. I love this for you. Like David, like we love that. We love that. He's objective. He's thoughtful. He's understanding. You get what I'm saying? And we also know that he's secure, right? Because we know that David is a stay-at-home dad. You have to be really secure in your manhood to be a stay-at-home dad while your wife is working and to not feel a way about it or to not feel like you have to overcompensate in another way. David seems like he's very level-headed, very stable, and that he's a great partner for Sai, and they just work. David says that they can have a Friendsgiving/BRYNNSGIVing for Brynn, and then Jessel and her husband Pavitt, they can have a dirty giving. I said, yes, they need it, okay? All right, so now we're at Jessel and Pavitt's house, and the babies are running all over the place. And I'm like, how do y'all have all of this white? All of this white furniture. Everything is white and cream with these kids running around. How do y'all do that? How? So they're discussing the school that they want to enroll the kids into. Pavitt wants the kids to go to public school, and Jessel, she wants to pay for private school. And she says that this is their first step into education. And it's not only about the education, it's also about networking for them as parents, the other parents that they'll be able to meet, things like that. But Pavitt doesn't see that as being important. Pavitt is like, look, just send them kids to public school. It is not that serious, okay? Jessel also brings up the idea of them renting a summer house in the Hamptons. And Pavitt is like, okay, you want to what? Like rent a summer house so you can redo your horrible Hamptons experience with the girls? And Jessel is like, no, that's not the case, but I was the sacrificial lamb during that trip. Jessel says that all she said was that it was cold. And Pavitt is like, yeah, but sometimes the way that you speak to people, like your tone of voice, it rubs people the wrong way. And who would know that more than your husband? Like, who would know that more than him, right? And Jessel is like, wait,
but you're supposed to support me. You're supposed to be on my side.
And he's like, yeah, but like, how can I be on your side? How can I support you when your tone of voice, it does have the tendency? And she's like, are you calling me a bitch? And he's like, no, I would never call you that. He's like, I would never call you that. Now, I'm sure he's probably said it to himself or like under his breath, okay? But what he said is, I would never call you that. And he's still trying to find the right words to explain how her tone of voice can rub people the wrong way. And she just goes back to like, no, you're calling me a bitch. I'm like, girl, Jessel, let him get it out. Let him speak, baby. Let him talk. Meanwhile, we see Jenna visiting Erin, right, at her place. And Erin is cleaning up and she's like, I need everything to be perfect because I have all of these like sticky hands on the ceiling and stuff. And Jenna is very judgy. And that's why it was so strange to me to find out Erin's occupation, because she is so self-conscious about her house. I think that you being a designer, right, of homes, you get paid to do this. That should be where you're the most confident. Like, yeah, come in my house. Look at my house. I designed it myself. This is what I get paid to do. Okay, period. But she's so self-conscious about her home. That's so strange to me. But anywho, Jenna lets Erin know that her and Jessel went shopping over the weekend and they were able to have a conversation about everything that went down in the Hamptons. And while they were shopping, Jenna also bought Erin a nice little sweater. It was $995, okay, to say thank you for hosting them during the weekend. I think that's really cute. We can see that Jenna is really big on gifts, even if it's something small to her, right? Giving a gift is just a really important gesture, and she's going to show up to your home. She's going to bring a gift. She's going to give you a thank you gift. Just really classy. Just a really classy lady. Also, how sexy did Jenna look when she showed up to Erin's place? Like her little outfit, she always going to show that. She always going to give you a little bit of skin, right? I think she looked really cute with her glasses and her hair in that slick little bun. I think she looks so cute. So Jenna is telling Erin about the conversation that she had with Jessel. And we see Jessel telling Jenna that she didn't appreciate that everything was brought up like in front of everyone. She feels that if Jenna had a problem with her, she would have appreciated it if Jenna had taken her aside and they were able to have that conversation one-on-one, as opposed to all of the women being there. And then she calls all the ladies cackling hags. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Jenna tells Erin that during this conversation, Jessel called the ladies a bunch of cackling hags. And of course, Erin is like, what? Cackling hags? How can she call us that? How can she call us that? And she's like, where did she even get that from? But then production plays a clip of the past episode when the ladies were at a restaurant and Uba took that can from the kitchen, and Erin and Jenna were like really embarrassed. While the ladies were on the elevator, Jenna was like, oh my God, I can hear them cackling. So I feel like production kind of brought that up to say like, oh, Jenna also said that y'all ladies were cackling, okay? It wasn't just Jessel, but we'll see how that plays out in the future. Jenna says that she feels like Jessel honestly means well. It's just that sometimes she says things without fully thinking it through and it comes out wrong, but she doesn't mean any harm by the things that she says. And Erin says, I just think she needs to get like, I think that's what it really is. So now we switch back to Jessel's house where she's still having the conversation with Pavitt and they're discussing their lack of sex, right? Since the babies have been born. And Pavitt is like, oh yeah, that's just the baby tax. Like after a baby is born, you know, like people just don't have sex. And I'm like, is that it? I can understand that things change, right? Hormones change. You guys have less time, but we can see that Pavitt doesn't really seem to be bothered about not having sex with Jessel, right? It doesn't seem like he cares much. And I'll say this, even though I didn't review episodes 1 and 2, I took notes and I remember when Jessel was telling the ladies how her and Pavitt got together. And I wrote, they got together out of convenience. Because remember Jessel said they were really good friends, right? They had never thought of each other in a romantic way. They started off as friends. And then I feel like his lease was up and her lease was up and they figured it would just be better to just move in together. And from there, they just got together and stayed together and they've been together ever since, right? I'm like, when she was explaining that story, I didn't hear much love. I didn't hear much romance. I don't know if it's a cultural thing. Maybe we'll learn more about the dynamics of their relationship going forward. But the relationship seemed to come out of pure convenience. And I think that that can be one of the reasons why they're not having sex and why it doesn't seem to be much of a big deal to them. I feel like it's a bigger deal to the ladies outside of the relationship than it is to Jessel and Pavitt. Let me know what y'all think below. So now we're at Sai's house and she's getting everything prepared for the BRYNNSGIVIng. Child, Brynn had me cracking up in this entire scene. So the chef is getting everything together. Sai looks amazing. I love her hair. I love her braids. I love her dress. She just looks really good. The dark eye makeup, really sultry, really sexy. She looks really great. And Sai says that she loves hosting and she loves feeding people. Hey, Erin, that was definitely shade, okay? So Brynn shows up and, you know, she got to show us her backless dress, child, and she meets the chef and immediately Brynn starts flirting with him. She's leaned up against the wall and she's like, yeah, it's going to be a great night. And Sai's like, hey, sis, he's married. And Brenda's like, okay, girl, whatever. she just walks away like, okay, girl, whatever. You got to tell me sooner that he's married. Then she asked the bartender, are you married? And he's like, yeah, actually I am. And Brenda's like, girl, why you got all these married people here? Like, what is this? So Uba comes in and she has on this really beautiful gold and black dress. And Sai's daughter is like, oh, you look so nice. You look like a bumblebee. That was just so cute and wholesome to me. Jenna comes in looking good as usual. Like, what's new? Hello. And what keeps cracking me up is that when everyone comes in, Brynn is turning around. She's showing everyone the back of her dress. She's like, hi, welcome to the BRYNNSGIVIng. Brynn is crazy. Every time she did that, child, I was cracking up. Like, Brynn was sending me this entire scene. So now Erin shows up, okay? And she comes into Sai's house and she does not take her shoes off. And you know Sai is going to be like, you didn't take your shoes off. You didn't take your shoes off. And Erin is like, oh no, I forgot. And Sai's like, yeah, it was in the text message. Like, everybody knew. Everyone else took their shoes off. Like, take your shoes off. Sai and Erin have a really interesting relationship to me. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship because Sai is always calling Erin out. Like, Sai is always going to call Erin out, whether it's about food, whether it's about not taking her shoes off, whether like anything. Sai is always going to let it be known. And I feel like Erin is like always walking on eggshells when it comes to Sai, because in Sai's eyes, Erin is always effing up. Do y'all see that? Let me know what you think. So here's where I feel like Erin was kind of doing too much. So Jessel comes over and she goes up to Erin and she's like, hey, I heard that your grandmother's memorial was today. You know, sorry for your loss. How was it? Erin says like, yeah, it was today. I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it was okay. You know, she was 94 years old. So we knew it was coming. It did happen very fast because she went into hospice and within 24 hours, she was gone. And Jessel says, you know, well, I hope that everything went well. And when Jessel walks away, Erin is like, well, like, as well as it could go. Like, it was a memorial. Yeah, I had so much fun. And I'm like, Erin, I really don't think that that was necessary, right? Like, we can see that Jessel was being genuine in that moment. She was trying to give you condolences. And she just said, you know, I hope that the day went well. Obviously, she knows that you're not happy about having to go to your grandmother's memorial, or you're not happy about, your grandmother passing away. She's just saying that she hopes that the day was pleasant. And a lot of times when someone is speaking to another person about their loss, about losing someone, sometimes it's awkward and you don't know exactly what to say. But I can honestly say that I think that Jessel was being genuine. For Erin to be like, well as it could have gone. Like, girl, you know what the hell she meant. Stop, okay? So when Jessel goes upstairs, Erin tells the ladies, do you know what Jessel said about us? Do you know what she said about us? She called us cackling hags. And Uba is like, what? Cackling? Uba's like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? So they're trying to explain what the term means to Uba, which is so funny to me because she's like, what the hell are y'all talking about? And then also in Jenna's confessional, she says like, look, I know I told Erin this, but I wasn't trying to stir the pot on this situation. And production is like, so then why did you tell Erin? And she's like, I don't know, child, old lady brain. I don't know. And I believe that when Jenna told Erin that, she was just telling her what was said, but I don't think that she thought that Erin would make a big deal out of it and bring it back to everyone in the group. You get what I'm saying? You know, on some shows, we got bone collectors on some shows, right? They're intentionally telling someone something so that they can bring it to the group and cause a mess. I don't think that was Jenna's intentions at all. I really don't. Let me know what y'all think below. So they finally sit down to eat and they ask Brynn, if she's okay. And immediately Brynn starts crying, right? She gets really emotional. She starts crying. And even when production is asking Brynn in her confessional, like, tell us about what's going on. Tell us about your family. And she's like, no, like, I can't talk about it. But at the table, she lets the ladies know that her mom was a teen mom and her dad was older. She didn't say how old he was, but she said he was older. And I think from that, we can assume that he was not a teenager. I think that he was much older than her mother. She said that they were really poor. They were on Section 8. They were on welfare, food stamps, all of that. And she says that a lot of bad things happened from both of her parents, but more so her dad. And there was an incident that happened when she was 6 months old and days went by and her diaper wasn't changed and it was just really bad. And you can see everyone at the table is really emotional. Everyone really feels for her. And at the table and in the confessional, we can see that this is something that even though it happened, it was her childhood, this is something that has shaped Brynn's entire life, and she is still affected by it deeply, to the point where one question about it she completely falls apart. I don't know, obviously, if Brynn has been in therapy or if she's getting help with what she's dealt with, but this is some deep trauma. And clearly it's something that's hard for her to talk about, but it seemed like she felt comfortable enough with the girls to have that conversation with them. And I hope that she's able to come to terms with her childhood and live life in a healthy way with understanding and acknowledgement of how that childhood has shaped her life. And I'm sure that we'll see more of that in the coming episodes. But like I said before, I absolutely loved this episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm loving the cast. I'm happy that I stuck with it past episodes 1 and 2 because I was not feeling episodes 1 and 2, but I'm loving it now and I'm excited for the rest of the season. Let me know all your thoughts below. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. You already know the vibe. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.
Roxy says we're gonna talk about it.